Can't go wrong with ears because everybody's are different, so there's no right ear or wrong ear. He's got cutesy ears, don't you think? I swore I wasn't going to embarrass you, Fred. I'll stop now, I promise.
How much time do you spend drawing in the first place?
That's probably maybe the longest part. I draw it first in my sketchbook. And you can see that I tore this out of my sketchbook because I usually do my detailed drawing in my sketchbook. And the main reason I do that is I'm horrible at judging size. One of the reasons I painted watercolor for so many years is because I would draw on the big board and then cut the board to fit the drawing, because I have a tendency to draw huge. I don't know why. And so I literally do a very detailed drawing in my sketchbook and then I project it onto my paper or canvas. And the main reason I do that is I'm so horrible with size. Even with horses, if I start drawing it, the last canvas I did was 48 by 60. Well, if I had started drawing that on that big canvas, I would have run out of room before I ever got to legs, because I don't know why, I'm horrible at judging size. So I draw it first and then I project it. Also, you can't trim a canvas to fit the painting like you can watercolor paper. That's kind of a neat advantage that watercolorists have over oil painters or anything.
So how do you project it onto the canvas?
I actually have a big opaque projector that I use. I'd love to get one of those new little jazzy ones that are LED and stuff, but the only problem about that is then I would have to photograph this and do it from the photograph, which might work, I don't know. But they're like $700 and I've had this one forever, so.
Can you cut the watercolor board or whatever you call it?
Yeah, you just cut this with an X-Acto knife. Yeah. And feel free during the break to come up and feel it because it really is stiff. And occasionally, after painting it really wet, it might warp a little bit. And all you have to do is turn it upside down, put a little water on the back and set your water container on it for an hour and it's flat again. So you kind of can't go wrong. Let me see. Oh, we're going to put one more coat on his shirt. Where's my big brush? Okay, now this time, because I've got the cerulean blue on the bottom, I can go ahead, and even though ultramarine isn't a staining color, it doesn't work very well for an undercoat like this, a buffer coat, because I think they lie a little bit about, it stains a little bit. At least it does for me. So I'm going to just fill in some smaller shapes here. I know there isn't any whites or lights in Frank's shirt over here, but I'm pretending that there is. I can always kill the whites later. I can't totally get them back. So just like in regular watercolor paper, you want to leave your whites bigger than you want them because inevitably they're going to magically shrink. And I'm just thinking of folds and highs and lows on my fabric. There we go, done. Now, there is coat 2. I have put a little bit of blue, like I said, in his hair, and now I'm going to put some of it in his beard because you don't want beards to be just white against skin color. So I like to put just a few little strokes of the cerulean blue. I can look at my picture. Where it's gray. With the whitest white, I'm going to leave white. I'm going to take Pinto Frank and start to smooth him. Now is when I'm really going to start paying attention to the photo and the shapes in the photo. I mean, I painted them in and stuff, but I'm going to take a little piece at a time, smooth it out, and add any darks that I need to add.
Are you going to add any flesh colors?
Yes, yeah. I actually do that at the very end. I kind of glaze the whole thing with my basic skin color. I also will put on what I call arbitrary colors at the end. I like to put blues in the corner of the mouth and the corner of the eyes. And if you've seen Jan Kuhn's paintings,
Yes.
she uses green a lot for that. I like to use cerulean blue or turquoise. Turquoise works great for highlighting and putting what I call arbitrary, you could call them weird, colors on at the very end. There's a painting over there. Maybe I should show you that so you can see what I mean. Can somebody hand me the two black ladies that are over there? These two paintings I did last week while I was at the paint-in. And is that, can you see that with that shine? Yeah, okay. See this bright, bright yellow? That's actually that core yellow. And I put it on at the very, very end. And on this one, maybe I need to zoom that, Frank.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Why is it not going?
T.
Okay. Okay, can you see the turquoise in the corners of her eyes?
It's kind of hard to see.
Is it? Oh, okay. Well, go up and look at it, but it's bright turquoise, and I also glazed bright yellow. Any skin has a basic undertone. People are either a yellow undertone, a green undertone, or a blue undertone. And surprisingly, it doesn't matter whether they're Caucasian or what they are. You can have all three in black people or white people, or black people are usually either yellow undertone or blue. I happen to be very yellow undertone on my skin. Frank is actually more of a pink undertone. And so, you know, it varies so much between people that I usually start with the undertone. Now, because he is pink, I can't start with that because it would stain. And I need the buffer color in there. And
The camera is making it darker up there.
oh, is it?
That's why
Okay.
you can't see it.
Now let's go back to Frank here. Whoops, I have to aim it at the camera. I'm aiming it at the screen and wondering why it's not doing anything. Okay. So anyway, these ladies, this lady, I really like this lady, and I think I'm going to enter her in something. I have some photographers that I work with that give me permission to paint from their photos, and both of those are from a gal that I was supposed to teach a workshop for in Salt Cay. Do you know where that is? It's down by the Bahamas. It's an island down there, and she's always sending me old pictures, and I just love them. Okay, so let's start smoothing Frank here. We don't want Frank to go to break looking like he's...
So do you actually, when you're in normal painting, do you let them dry in between?
Yes, I do. That's why I'm using a different one. Yeah, because in order to smooth it, if it was still wet, I would just be lifting it all right back off. Which, you know, if you mess up, that's fine, you can do that. But I want it to be completely dry, so when I start smoothing it, I'm just moving those colors around, but I'm not lifting them off. Okay, so let's start with his forehead. I'm going to mix my skin color. I need to clean a little spot here. I actually have about 5 or 6 palettes that I use, and Of course, none of the colors are in the same place, but I've been using this one this week, so it's okay. All right, so I'm going to mix my basic skin color.
You know, Michelin,
Yes.
if you move those brushes. and
Oh, then you
move the
can see,
palette
yep, okay,
Closer to the painting, it might help the video.
okay,
Yeah, there we go.
okay.
Oh,
And I also usually will squeeze out fresh color when I start a new painting. The only thing I really need it for is the background, because when I put the background on this, it's going to be a really thick, heavy, rich color. And so I do like to have a little bit of fresh paint in there, but like I said, the Holbein is really pretty good with that anyway, so.
What palette is it?
This is a Jones palette. I like it because I use large brushes. When I do the background, I'm going to be using this 1.5 inch. And I want the brush to fit in there without slopping it all over the other colors. So I like to have big wells, so this is the only palette that has large wells but still holds 32 colors. That's why I like it. You can still find them online.
Is that Tom Jones?
Pardon?
Tom Jones?
No, it isn't. I put the lid over there. It's just Jones palette. And if you just Google that, you'll find it. I haven't bought any in a long time, but I'm pretty sure they're still out there. So here is Frank's skin color here. So
What
I'm,
colors did you use?
that was raw sienna and carmine or alizarin, same color. I use the Holbein Carmine because it's cheaper, excuse me, and I have 2 carmines in my palette, one that I can get dirty and make black with, and one that I can keep clean and not have to worry about that it's horribly contaminated. I also have 2 Aurelian yellows, one that I use to make children's skin tone and one that I use for everything else. Because I don't want to worry about contaminating that color, and so I just have 2 of them in there. Okay, Frank. So I am going to take this skin tone, and I hope you can see this. Would it help if I zoomed on this?
I think
Okay.
that would help.
Okay, let me. Oops.
There you go.
Okay. I'm going to tone this down with it's looking a little too pink already, so I'm going to throw some burnt sienna in here. And I just kind of scrub around on it until I get it looking smoother. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm wiggling the whole table.
How wet is your brush?
Not terribly wet. It's damp, and actually when it quits working, I know I need to go back and re-wet it. So I'm not going to do too big of an area here. I'm rattling the whole table. Now I'm going to get some darker color while this is still wet. This is burnt sienna, and I'm going to add a little carmine to it. Oop, too much. And I'm going to put some of the real darks in while this is wet. Just a little bit, and I'll smooth that out. I don't want to go too far before I go back to smoothing. You can either use water to smooth it, or you can use color. Either one works. But I like to just kind of push it around and get that spot kind of how I want it. And if I find it's starting to lift too much, then I'll get the heck out of there and let that dry and go work somewhere else. Can you see it all, how that's softening out?
Yeah.
I got a little bit of that bubbling right there, but that's all right. Now, is there anything that needs to be lighter? Okay, this right along here is a white against that. And I have a very magic brush. This is actually an acrylic filbert brush. So it's a little stiffer, but it's not bristle. And this edge, you know, has been dried for a week and a half. And look how this works.
Is this brush dry?
No, it's wet, but I always dab it off a little bit so that it isn't drippy wet. When it quits working, I know I need a little more water. And the other thing is, this also, if you want it to, will lift off all the pencil. So if you have, you know, pencil lines on there that you don't want, it will take them right off. These are great lights, but they are warm. Because I don't think I'm working that hard.
Are they warm? They're not supposed to be.
Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, because they said they're cool lights.
I'm way too young to have a hot flash. Actually, I quit having them a long time ago, but that's another story. See how that is smoothing out? Now, this is still a pretty harsh line, so I think I'll take some of that out of there. Frank doesn't have that big a furrow in his brow.
Well, not always.
Well, unless you do something to tick him off.
Michelin, whenever it's a good time for you to break is good.
Oh, okay, okay. So this is how you soften, and we'll do a little more after the break, because I want to show you how to soften these real darks out.
Yeah.
And so feel free to come up and see this, because it's amazing how much you... So can you see how soft that is getting and how hairy?
Yeah.
Now, I will probably, you know, if I was going to finish this painting, I would then take my only small brush. This is actually a pretty little one. Usually an 8 is the smallest brush that I use. But I've now spread my brushes out so much, I don't know where it is, so we'll use this one. This is pretty small, but I will add a few darker pieces and then, you know, add any detail at this point if I want. I'm not looking at the picture, so he may not have color like that here, but. So you can soften and stuff when it's wet, but I usually only do that with the finishing details because I like to get those big shapes in there. Now I want to do a little more of a shadow on what would be a skin piece if, you know, Frank had thin hair, but he doesn't.
Yeah, we all know that.
Yeah. So I'm just going to finish this one little piece of hair so that you can see how fun and easy it is to do hair with this paper. I think that really works for hair,
It does.
and it's really easy.